Hey guys, just wanted to go live a couple minutes early. How you doing? Hey PJ Mommy, can you mod for me? Sandy, do you want to mod for me? Okay, thanks. There you go. Hey Anna, who else is here? Stay Unique, what is your name again? Are you Stacy? I'm having a hard time with everybody else trying to remember people's names. Hey Faye. Who else we got coming on here? Got a few minutes early, so. Stacy, okay, cool. I thought I was right, but I'm so bad at names. Hey, Ladybug Wishes, are you feeling better? I know you weren't feeling so good the other day. Yeah, I'm happy you're here too. Man, I rearranged this camera like 4 times, guys, so I hope we got a good view. I'm going to be moving it down and up a little bit, so just warning you guys now. Hi, Charlene. Hey, Sierra. Am I clear, you guys? We'll give people a couple more minutes. I know Ediani was busy printing out her pattern and getting it cut out yet, so. Okay, good, thanks. This is the second time I've used this new camera, and it seems to be doing really good, but I always want to check just in case. I'm doing well, thanks. Let's see if I can do that real quick here. There's the link to the pattern that I'm using. You can use any pattern though. This is just one that I'm using. If you have a free one, go ahead and use that if you want to. They're all pretty much the same. I just gave the link. This is a paid pattern, and it's a lady off of Etsy. So she's gonna make a little money off of us, which I always like supporting my Etsy people. But yeah, if you have a free pattern or you have one, they're all gonna be the same. Hey, Ediani. Did you get that pattern printed and cut out? It's okay. I lost my pattern at the last minute. You should have seen me about 10 minutes ago because it was literally right here. I set my computer on it and I couldn't find it. I was freaking out. Like I knew it was right here and it all cut out and everything. Hey, Piccolina. Oh, you do, Sierra. Okay, good. Good, good, good. So then you know what we're doing. Sorry, I'm going to be moving the camera a little bit, girls. So if it makes you sick, just look away. I'll try and tell you. I'm playing with this new camera, and this is only the second time I've used it. So I'm still trying to learn myself on how to set it. And it's a little high for me doing this kind of talking because I'm looking at myself on the computer instead of up here. But when we start doing sewing, I wanted it up high so you can look down and see everything I'm doing. So I don't know quite how to handle that. Yeah, I'm the queen at laying something and putting something on top of it and then can't find it. That's pretty much how I roll. It's pretty sad. All right, we got 15 people in here. Everybody hit that like button, please. We got 8 likes. All right, I'll give people just a couple more minutes to come in at 6:33, just in case they're running late. But if you guys have your patterns, I don't know if you have them cut out or not, but if you don't, my suggestion is do not go with the smallest pattern size. Go up, 6 to 9 months, 9 to 12 months. It's a little fiddly if this is kind of one of your first times doing this. So I really want you guys to have a good chance to hang on to it. Even go 12 to 18 months. I wouldn't go too small. You can always go back down smaller once you've done this and you kind of know what you're doing. So yeah, what is about that, Sandy? I don't know. Okay, thanks, Sandy. I knew you would, Sandy. You're good. You are the best. You're so good to us. Hey, Adelaida. Glad you could join. Oh, awesome. Are you going to sew with us? Or are you just going to watch and come back and sew later? I linked the pattern in the comments there, Adelaida. It's an Etsy shop. If you have one, it doesn't matter. Any bummy pattern will work. I just linked the one that I'm using because sometimes people want to use the same one. So. Hey, Kay. Hey, Shayna. All right, looks like everybody's starting to get in here now. We're about 6:34. I just wanted to give people about 5 minutes or so to get here before we got going. And I'm just going to do plain fabric today because it's a lot easier to see. I wanted to do a real light colored fabric. And you guys can use whatever. I'm using a jersey knit, and it's a real nice, soft knit. If you guys have a print you want to use, that's great. But just realize this is your first one. And, you're going to probably be real critical about it. So if you just want a piece of fabric to practice on, if for some reason you have no knit, like Amber was saying last week when we did the leggings, if you do use cotton, that's great. It's just practice. It will not stretch those. So just be aware it would purely be practice and it won't work for, an actual baby. So, hey, Christy. All right, guys, shall we get going? It's 6:35, so we'll let people kind of catch up when they come back in, or they can rewatch or whatever. So I'm going to turn the camera down. If you guys get sick, just turn away for a second. I'll let you know when we're down. And I still have to figure out how to do this. Adelaide, you're the queen at this one. I don't know how you do it. I'm going to have to get some tips from you somehow. You get really good at the whole room. Here I go. Hey, Mary. Okay, there. So what I did was, first off, is I've got this completely laid out flat on my cutting mat. And you want to, as you notice, this fabric is very wide. Most of the time your knit fabrics are going to run about 55 to 58 inches wide. They're very, very wide. And then they're going to have this edge. It's called a salvage edge. And you're going to notice it's not real pretty. And it probably has a double row of dots or holes that runs right here. So that's your salvage edge. Now, as Amber said, we've got to check the stretch. So you got to make sure that you're laying all these pattern pieces out in the correct direction, because it stretches in one way. It'll stretch, some of this will stretch both ways if you have a double stretch, but you want to make sure your stretch is in the right direction, which is across the bum, the biggest part of the area. So if you pull your fabric up, you're going to notice it'll stretch. You see how that stretches? Where if I go this way, I'm just going to fold it over. There is very little stretch that direction. So I want to lay my fold So I'm going to fold over a little piece of this fabric, and I'll show you how wide here in a second. But I want my stretch to go this way. So here's my fold, and my stretch is perpendicular to my fold, okay? And perpendicular is a T. So the top part of your T is the folded area, and your stretch is the T that goes down. So make sure, if you guys are doing this with me, that that's what you've got going on, okay? So you've got it folded over. And just keep checking on comments here. Yes, Adelaida, we can do a room tour at the end. Please remind me. It's a little messy. A little messy. I've got a separate Etsy shop where I dye yarn and fiber, and I have a live event on Facebook, and it's a fiber festival online that I'm selling on, and all the stuff is right there, and the mess is all on that side. So I might try and avoid that, but I'll probably show it to you guys. I know everybody wants to see the room, and you'll see it every time if I need to, just to show you. It does get clean once in a while. Let's see. Hey, Tasha. Hey. Hey, Nita. Yay. Glad you guys made it. Okay. So now we're talking again. We've got the fold here, top of your T. Your stretch is going this way, okay? So now, how far over do I fold this? That's the next question. What I'm going to start with, and if you guys are using the same pattern as me, take your waistband and your cuff and put those to the side for just a minute, okay? We're not starting with those. We are going to start with the fronts and the backs. And any bummy pattern is going to have a front and a back. It's going to have a cuff. And unless you have a fold over casing waistband, which we'll talk about at that time, you will have a waistband. But if you do not have a waistband, that's fine, because that's a fold over, and we'll discuss that in a minute. Okay, so we're going to start with the short front and the short back. Now they're calling these shorts. Your pattern, if you're using a different one, might say bummy front, bummy back, and either way, they're going to look like this to some degree. Okay. Let me just see if we have anything going on here real quick. Hey, Nita, I'm doing good. Your live was so good. Oh, man, that was fun. I loved watching you make those pocket tees. Those were amazing. Yeah, I know. It is fun. I love hanging out with everybody, and I miss everybody when I don't get to do it. Okay, so you're going to look at your pattern, and it says there's a fold right here, okay? And you're also going to see on the other one, it says place on fold right there. Okay. So does not matter which one you start with. You can start with the back or the front. Okay. So I'm starting with the front just because, and this will make sense to you guys, because I want the top up here and the bottom down here. So the fold will sit like that. Now I've got quite a bit of fabric right here, but I want to check something first. Now I also want to place my back in the same direction, where the top is here, the bottom is down here. Now if you notice, the fold's sitting over here. It's not here, so I can't just pick it up and place it here. What do? I flip it over so that the top is here, the bottom is here. So this is how I'm going to check how much I need to fold over. And it looks like I'm pretty good. I don't like to get right on top of that selvage edge, because that material right there, it's pulled really funny when they do the weaving of this fabric and the knitting of this fabric. It gets kind of wonky right there. So if you leave about a ½ inch or so from there, you're going to be pretty safe. So it doesn't matter that one's upside down. What matters is that you've got your top and your top going the same direction. Now, if I was doing it this way, it would be fine too. You can do that as long as your stretch is still going that way, okay? So just remember, one is up, one is down, because you got to keep them on fold. So I'm going to do that and do that, okay? Now, we're going to go ahead and grab your rotary. I'm going to check real quick, make sure there's no questions before I move on. Anybody have any questions before I get going? Hey, Reddy. Yay! I'm glad to see you here, Reddy. All right, no questions that I'm seeing so far? Anybody? Hey, Pamela Renee. Almost 100. I know. It's so cool. It's kind of just organically did that. It was shocked when I went on there earlier today, and I think I had like 93, and I was like, when did that happen? So now I need to get another 0 on the end, and then we'll be good. All right, so if there's no questions, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut this out. Now, if you guys want to put weights on here to hold this down while you're cutting, you sure can. And if you have weights, go ahead and grab those real quick. I just use my hand because it's small. Now, if I had a big pattern, I would definitely be putting weights down. And I might even sometimes pin just a little bit just because I'm one of those, I get a little silly. I'm one of those you don't take to a buffet. Enough said there. So, thanks, Karen. Hey, Dawn. Yes, hit the like button, guys, please. So we're going to go ahead and cut this out. So make sure this is sitting right on your fold. And I'm just going to go ahead and move this one out of the way for a moment. And it doesn't really matter where you start, but push down really good and go slow, guys, because you want to have a clean edge. And I always pull away to make sure I've got my edge good and clean. And then this the little area down the crotch area has just a little curve. And so that can be a little tricky. Take your time, guys. There's no hurry on this, okay? No hurry at all. And so when I'm at the top here, a lot of times I'll just cut off the fabric, just cut completely off. That's just, I like to sometimes take things and move them around when I get to this point if I cannot feel like I'm going to cut it very well. And so if I cut it completely off, then I'm able to carefully move it. All right, so, and you're going to notice another reason to go slow is your knit fabrics do tend to shift just a little bit. So you're going to want to take your time with it. And if you have to go back and trim just a little bit like I did on that one, it's fine. No big hurry going on here. So here's your short front. See, you do a fold and there's your fronts, okay? Now we're going to do the exact same thing, but for the backs. Now remember, we did the top here. So my top of my back has to be this way again. And I'm flipping it over, place on fold, goes on the fold here. And I always scooch mine up as much as I can so that I don't waste fabric. I actually have my computer sitting right here, Shayna, and I don't have my contacts in because I have to get a new prescription. I can't see with my contacts, so I have to lean over right now and read you guys. So that's why you're seeing me lean over trying to read my computer here. Yeah, Mary, that's the easiest way. I do the same thing. I hit like when I first come on. Because once we start talking, I don't want to go back. Nita, what type of cutting mat do I have? This one I got at Hobby Lobby, and does it have a brand on it? It's just the blue one at Hobby Lobby. I don't think it has a brand. Oh, it's Taylor. It does. June Taylor ink, and it's at the bottom. But you know, if you use that 40% off coupon you get from Hobby Lobby every week, I think this one was regular price like 32-ish, 35-ish. And then 40% off on that makes these not that expensive. And I go through cutting mats like crazy. I'm sure a lot of you know what that's like when you're doing a lot of your cutting. So, all right. Bummies ready. Bummies are what the babies, kind of like a diaper cover, only they're knit now. and they wear them over their diaper, and they're not as poofy as they used to be. You know how the little girls have the ruffle butts? That's kind of a diaper cover as well. Well, the Bummies are more snug, and they're usually made out of a knit fabric, so they're kind of a sleeker, kind of, you'll see when we get done. In fact, I'll grab the ones that I had on the front real quick to show you. So these are kind of the finished ones. See how they're just real nice and slim, where the ruffle butts are going to be all poofy and gathered and girly. And so that's a Bummy. And no, don't ask if they make them in adult sizes. Ready? All right. All right, so just making sure. You wished. Nita, sorry if I opened up that one for you. You might be making them a pair. All right, let's go cut the backs. So same thing, just take your time. We're not in a hurry. I always make sure that my edges are good and cut. So you want to cut past your corners just a smidgen, maybe an 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch, and then that way you know you have got that completely cut free from the fabric. That's another reason why I always move them too. Make sure I've got them cut. And be very careful, guys, with these rotary blades. They are super, super, super sharp. And yeah, I've got scars. So mine's actually from an X-Acto blade, but same thing. It's really sharp, and they will slice very quickly with your fingers. So be very careful and go slow. Yeah, I know, Nita. Add a liner to mine. Yes, these will be really good for summer, Karen, because they don't even have to wear a shirt if they don't want to. Yep, the little rotary tool. You notice I do have a smaller one. A lot of people are using the bigger ones, but when I do these little things, I use the small one, and I can get right in there real easy. And always change your blade. If you're having troubles, change your blade. Most of the time, that's the problem, is you have a dull blade. Hey, Gabby. Okay, yeah, you be careful. Don't you do anything more than just drive, okay? I don't expect you to chat or anything. Oh, you did? You made a dress tie ready. I'd like to see that. You need to post that on Discord so we can all see that. What was the pattern? Was it like something specific for a wedding or for, you know, an event, or was it just one you wanted to make? Yeah, Mary, I bet he changed his tune on that, didn't he? How often do I change the blade ready? I don't know that I have a formula for how often I change. It seems to, when you start cutting through, you'll notice that it'll like maybe not cut part of the fabric no matter how hard you're pressing. Then you have to recut and recut. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm done. And in all reality, guys, a dull blade will cut you quicker than a sharp one. So always keep a sharp one in your somewhere so that you can change out, because if you get a dull one, I can guarantee you're going to hurt yourself quicker. And that's just a rule of thumb. My dad used to sharpen knives quite a bit for his job, and that was what he always told us, and it's true. Oh, it's so true. Yeah, I still want to see that ready. Hey, Michelle. All right, so now we have the front and the back cut out, okay? So I'm always so big about getting rid of this extra too, because it kind of gets in the way. So I just cut that off, set it off to the side. Now you guys can use these small pieces like that leftover I cut off. You might be able to use some of that if you're doing embroidery, and it'll give just a little different effect on the shirts. So don't throw that stuff away. All right, now we're going to come over, and I tend to work my way down. And then when I get down to the bottom and I've used all the end, then I'll come and straighten it back out and start using and go down again. And that's just the way I do it. Everybody has their own way. Also, do not lay your blade down like I just did with it open. Make sure you always close your blade before you lay it down. Safety, guys, safety. So anyway, so I work down in strips, and then when I'm done, I'll go and straighten things out and then start at the top and work down again. Now, you guys can do however you want. You can, you know, it's just easier for me because it keeps the bulk. So I'm going to set those off to the side. Now we've got the waistband and we've got the cuff. They're both on a fold. You only cut one waistband. You will cut 2 of these for the cuff, okay? So I want to see if I have to move my fabric, and I do, because here, right there, is my line, and I got to place that on the fold, and that takes me way past the selvage because there's my edge. So I need to refold my fabric just a little bit. All right. And this is another reason why I like using my rotary cutter mat too, is I can make sure I keep my fabric nice and straight because you've got your lines here to line everything up on. And guys, the actual test on whether a pattern is going to turn out really well when you go to sew it, it's all in the cutting. So take your time with the cutting. If you cut it out really good, your sewing goes immaculate. If you don't cut it out real good, it's not going to turn out very well. So this is why I'm just taking my time with this. All right, so here I've left my little bit like I had told you guys about before. So we're going to take our time and just cut your straight lines. And if you don't cut 100% straight, don't worry about it. It's all good. And you can use a scissor if you want to. I find scissors don't necessarily cut as nicely when it comes to this stuff, and then you don't have as good of a finished product. But if that's all you've got, then you will make it work. It's fine. You may just have to go back and trim just a little bit. So there's my waistband. And now we've got to cut 2 of these. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. I'm just going to show you the one way, and then I'll tell you how to do the other way, but I'm going to refold again because I don't need it to be that far out. Try not to waste fabric. There we go. And I spend a lot of time positioning fabric to make sure it lays really, really nice. Now, you can do it this way and cut 1 here and 1 here. If you end up having a piece that's just kind of separate, you can take this, say this was just my piece and I was going to cut it off, and it would be just this. I could fold it over so that the fold goes on the fold, and then I could cut 2 at one time. But I'm going to just do it this way. And I'm cutting out the 6 to 9 month size if anybody's curious. See how I did not overcut just a little, so. There's 1. I'm going to do it again. Now, since I've already cut 1 and there's a cut side right there, I'm just going to lay that right up on that cut side since that's the same length, and I only have to cut 2 sides now. There. So now we have 2 cuffs. Yeah. And then I'm just going to trim this off. Okay. Any questions going on here? Hey, Michelle. Same with butcher knives, absolutely. Ready? We're going to get you sewing as well. How long does it take to make a bummy normally? It's probably from cut to finish, half an hour maybe. Yeah. I know. I know. You're killing me, Nita, with your surprise here. You're just killing us. Gonna have a big watch party when you finally announce it. Okay, I'm gonna clean this off here. So I'm gonna let you guys catch up a little bit. Is somebody cutting with me or is everybody just watching? That way I know if I need to go a little slow, give you guys a chance. Who's gonna be sewing with me? Yeah, it does not take long. It's it's a little fiddly at first if you're not used to doing them. I hope it does too, Nita. Okay, everybody's watching, so I'm just going to keep moving then. Okay, very good, very good. Adelaide, are you still with us? Okay, yeah, they may have pre-cut. Okay, good. So let me get my serger, bring it over here. Oh, good, 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 good. Okay, now let me see how I need to set this so that you guys can see what I'm doing. I think I'm going to turn this just a touch. Okay, if this makes you sick, guys, close your eyes. That's okay, Gabby. Yeah, I know. You're driving, girl. I don't want you even trying to do anything. Okay, so I'm using, if those of you weren't watching last week, I'm using the Juki, and it's the MO654DE. And I've had this thing for about 5 years. I adore this serger. If I could hug it, I would. So, let me see. You guys cannot see because all you're seeing, there we go, is that. And how am I gonna? Thought I had this figured out earlier because I was messing around with it. I guess I didn't. All right, I'm gonna have to go to this side, guys, so you can see what I'm doing. I'll move the camera a little bit. All right. Let's see if I can drop you guys down just a little bit now. We're at this point. Hang on. Close your eyes again if it's going to make you sick. There. Okay. Yeah, Edione, are you sewing with me? Because she has the exact same serger. Now, if you guys do not have a serger, you can do this on a regular sewing machine as well. I want you to know that. You just put it on a stretch stitch. And if you do not have a stretch stitch, say all you have is a straight, then you take your length of your stitch, say your stitch goes from 0, which is the shortest, to 5, which is the longest. Normally you'd run about a 2.5 to a 3 on everything. I would set that to about a 4, maybe a 4.5. And then that way, at least it'll give you a little bit of movement. It's still not perfect. You really do need a stretch stitch, but it's better than not at all. All right, so, all right, Eddie, let's go, girl. We're gonna do this, okay? Now, another thing is you can either pin, you can clip, or I'll show you the clips I use. And I'm sure you guys have never seen these before. Binder clips. I had a bunch of them around the house, and I sew leather items as well, and these work really good for leather items. So I was like, I'm just going to try them on the other stuff. Works really good. So go ahead and put your top piece on top of your bottom piece. So this is the back, and you can tell because the front swoops down here, the back is taller, okay? And so I'm just sitting here and making everything line up perfectly. Now what I want to do too is make sure my edges here line up well. So you want to make sure these edges right here, top and the bottom, sit perfectly even with each other. And if you have to turn it over, and just keep fussing with it and fiddling with it until everything lines up nicely. And then I go in and you either pin it, and if you're going to pin it, you want to pin it back here. Or I set a clip, and then I clip down on the bottom. I've got to go over just a little bit so that my machine can get through. So I've got a clip down at the bottom, and up at the top right there, okay? And then I'm going to clip right in the middle. So you want to get it far enough in so that when you set your foot to start sewing, you don't have to move the clip. The only clip I'm going to move is that one. So I'm going to clip both sides, okay? This one sometimes can be a little tricky to catch it. And then I'm also going to clip right in the middle on the crotch too, just to hold it in place. So now I've got it completely clipped out like that, okay? So we're going to go ahead and serge. So I always try and lift up my foot feed and place it right at the knife, because if you don't, sometimes it'll grab that bottom fabric, pull it through, and take the top and fold it over. So that way you can get them both together at the same time. So go ahead, and then I'll remove my middle one. You don't have to remove the middle one right away. Just don't, sew right through it. Notice the little trick there. I'm sure I told you guys that last week, but you can pull your tail underneath and let your knife hit it, and then you'll cut your tail for you. You don't have to use scissors when you're sewing like that. Okay. Now we're going to do the crotch seam, and you guys, curves are hard. Not going to lie. Take your time. That's all you do is just take your time, go slow. And I'll show you how to go slow. You just do not, you don't push on your foot feed too fast. Make sure everything stays good and lined up. So line your pieces up. And with the crotch seam, it's only probably about that long that you're sewing. So you'll be able to hang on to it, just don't stretch it. So go real slow. Hey, Amber. You're okay. That's all right, Amber. So now I've got the three seams. I've got the two sides, and we have the crotch sewn, okay? So now let's turn it inside out. I usually just give it a little shake because then that'll line it up a little bit for you. So I lay it flat and just kind of push the seams out so everything lays nice and flat. Finger straightening everything as you go, always straightening everything makes a huge difference in how everything lays out when you go to this next step. So I want to make sure we've got it all laying, okay? So it's nice and flat. Now we're going to start with our waistband, okay? Now if you have patterned fabric on this waistband, so say your pattern is on the outside, you want to fold your waistband so your pattern is on the outside, okay? Not on the inside because we're doing the finished one, okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to sew them together. So when you sew them together, you want your pattern on the inside right now. So if this is patterned, pattern on the inside. But if this is plain, it doesn't really matter, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing with the cuffs. Because you want the pattern on the inside if you have patterned fabric. And we're going to sew those together. Now, if you need to clip them or pin them, go ahead. I don't usually do it because knit can be just sticky enough that if you get it right there and you get it started right, you're usually pretty good. And I'm going to show you how to chain piece this so you don't stop and cut every single one. So set it underneath your foot and then, okay, I got through the first one. Now I'm not going to take it off. I'm just going to take the second one. It's ready to go. Put it underneath there and go again. And then I'm going to take the next piece, the third piece, and do the exact same thing. Now, if it's not 100% straight along here, you can straighten it at this point when you cut while you're serging. There's that. Okay, so when you chain piece, then it looks like that. Now we're just going to go and snip them. Okay. Now you want to turn them inside out. And then I'm going to just finger press them again, like we did with the bottom part. Straighten them all out nice. And we are going to fold them here in a minute, but this is why I'm doing this, so that everything lays nicely when you go to fold them. Those are the two cuffs, and this is the waistband. Okay, so again, if you have print fabric, now your print should be on the outside, okay? See if there's anything I need to look at here. Yeah, I don't know anything about the brother sergers, so hopefully somebody can help you with that one. I know a lot of people do have the brother sergers that are on here. Feet Wide Colors has a question if anybody has a brother. She's saying, is there somewhere to change pressure foot settings on the brother? Yeah, pinning. Okay, Michelle, I'm talking about pinning. Did I say pinner? Sorry if I did. I didn't mean pinner. If you're going to pin your seams is what I was referring to. Okay, so now we're going to move on and we're going to start with the waistband. So you can set your cuffs off to the side. And you want to take your waistband, So it's like that, and you're going to fold it open. And see how I have the seam running down now this way? And we're going to fold it in half so that the two seams match up like this, okay? So you fold it in half. And then you can either pin or you can clip it. And then make sure they always match up all the way around. And you're going to want to do, Amber showed you how to do this last time. Place in 4. So you're going to have, fold it in half that way, so you have it one there and one there. And then I'm going to take and place those together like that. Put one over here. And one over here. And you can do the same thing with pins. So when you're done, as you can see, you have 4. Okay? And you do the same thing with the cuffs. I'm going to fold them in half. Make sure your ends are together right there. And place your clips in again, or your pins, whichever you're using. You can always move them, lay it back down and move them if you didn't quite get them in the right spot. And we'll do 2. Yes, Gabby does have a brother. Gabby, she was wondering if there is somewhere to change the pressure foot settings on the brother Serger. I do not know. I cannot do it on my Juki. I think it is what it is, because I think she's talking about this foot right here and changing the pressure of the feed dogs underneath it. And I can't drop feed dogs on mine, so I don't know if you can drop your feed dogs or not. And this is the part that just kind of takes a little bit of time. You got to make sure everything lines up perfectly. And once you've done a few of these, then it'll go a lot faster. The first one or the first couple of a new pattern always take the longest. So be patient, guys. Be very patient with yourself. Okay, so we've got both of those there too. And we've got these long tails here, so that's okay. Sometimes, like, it'll unravel a little bit. You can cut that off a little. It's not a big deal. It doesn't have to stay. You cut it off a little bit. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to put the 4 also. So you see how here we've got the 2 edges. So I know where those are. If you want to put pins there, you can, or if you want to put clips there, you can. I don't really need to. On this pattern, it comes to a point right there. Not quite sure why, because when I made the other one, I didn't understand why there was a point there, but that's okay. That's the middle there, and then I just follow it straight down. And there's the middle there. So you can kind of see, you just follow it straight down, and then these are where my other 2 are going to go. So now we're going to take this, and what I always do is I put this seam on one of the side seams and line it up, because you don't really want that looking. You can put it in the back if you want, if you prefer, but definitely don't put it in the front. So I always line mine up with a side seam, just how I do it. Doesn't have to be that way. And then I always make sure I pull this seam, so your side seams, I like them to go to the back. Again, my preference. Some people, it doesn't matter. It's just how I do it. So I line this up with that seam right there. So you run that edge right along right there. And then I clip it. We're going to go over and do the other side. Now you don't have that to line up with, so put that in the middle. Or if your pin is right there, but if you've got a clip, put it right in the middle of your clip. Okay. So you've got those done. Now we're going to go do the fronts. So you're going to want to line those up. And once I get those lined up, then I either pull out one of my pins or my clips and then take the other one and clip it. Same for the other side. Line them up. Pull one out and clip it. Okay, so now what we're going to do, and if you followed Amber last week, when we sew, you're going to stretch that band so that the band takes up that excess, because if you notice, the band's a little bit smaller than the pant area. Okay, it does. Sandy, yeah, the prep does take a lot longer. And the truth is in the prep. You know, I don't know if this pattern is true to size. I have not put it on a baby. So I would think it should be. She had some really, really great reviews on Etsy. She had a lot of reviews and everybody was raving about it. So I would think if she was having issues with sizes, it would have been listed in there. So I'm going to say it's probably true, but everybody do your own check on that if you have a little one. You know, and some kids are, some patterns too, it's just like clothing in the store. Some people's patterns run just a little different in sizing. So make sure you read the measurements on every pattern you use. And then you're going to have to follow according to those measurements. So if you would say the baby's normally 12 months, maybe on one pattern, the baby is a 12-month, that maybe on another pattern, they actually fit into the 9-month according to the measurements. And in another pattern, the measurements might be more like an 18-month. So don't go strictly by, oh, it's always a 12-month. Always measure. Take your measurements, make sure they're true. Now, if you're going to start doing this for your shops, then set your own measurement standards and stay to those. So you put out what you're going to say your 6 to 9 month is going to be and your 12 month is going to be. And then if you use somebody else's pattern to make something, then make sure whatever you're making fits those measurement standards, not what the pattern says. So hopefully that makes sense. Hey, Anna, thank you. Yeah, thanks, guys. Oh, that made my night. I made 100. That's so awesome. So let's see. Oh, somebody was asking, I just saw it and I can't find it, the rib knit. You can do, are you using rib knit? You can use a rib knit, Sandy. Go back and watch my beginning of my video and I was telling you how to pay attention to the stretch. And then you can use a rib knit. Now your rib knit's going to stretch a lot more, so I just want you to know that. All right, so now we're going to go sew this on, and you're going to want to sew from, I usually start from a side seam. And that's just because it'll look a little better instead of starting in the middle. Because what if you get going and you get a little pucker or something, you got to go back and rip it out. Well, if you do that at a side seam, it'll tend to hide it. Don't ask me why, it just does. So anyway, take your time doing this, guys. This is the part where, especially if you're learning to fiddle with it, and if you have to, see how I'm kind of fiddling with it, go back and put another one right in the middle of each one if you want. You don't have to just do 4. if you feel like you need that extra one, stretch it just a little bit. Find your middle with your fingers, grab it, put another clip there, okay? And then you can kind of see how you've got the gaps there, and you can kind of regulate it a little bit, all right? I'm just going to go ahead and do that so that those of you that maybe need to do that will see. I'm going to do it again. So you can see this part. I'm going to pull it so it matches. I'm going to put my finger right there in the middle, and then I'm going to grab a clip and put it there. And you can always look and see, okay, does that look about the same gap right there? Yes. Do it one more time. Pull it so everything, the gap's taken out, and everything lines up really nice. Put your finger there. It would be really good if I was left-handed, but I'm not. So, and then your gap looks about the same. So that way, if you really feel like there's too much with just 4, you can always put more in, okay? Thanks, guys. Yes, that's so awesome. Like I said, now we got to go for the extra 0 on the back. That's a big goal. That's a big one. So we'll see. We'll see if that one happens. Okay, let me pull this back over. And we're going to just start at the side seam, like I said, and put this on here. Now I'm going to remove one. Pull up that, stick it under there. Now, you'll notice with a serger, it's not like a sewing machine. You can put it straight through, but it's got to start somewhere, okay? Where a sewing machine, you can kind of line it up. Well, this has already got the thread that goes all the way through, and everything's got, so just put it under there and just start going, and you'll be all right. And then I'm going to stretch it. Let's see. I don't know if I can get you guys down any further. I think I can. All right. Hopefully you can see pretty good from here. Get my fingers out of the way as much as I can. And we're just going to go. And you keep stretching it. So you're going to have that gap. Take it up. Make sure all 3 stay lined together. If you have just a little bit sticking out further than 2, that's okay. Your serger's going to cut it off. And then get to the next one. Always make sure all 3 of them are together there. And you just work your way around. Always make sure, though, every time you stop and take a clip off, that you're lining all 3 of them back up again, and you're stretching out that gap. Keep sewing on the inside. I'm already back around now to my side seam. And you're going to want to make sure this tail is pulled out and it's sticking out so that the serger will cut it off, but it'll incorporate it into this seam. Okay. We're going to this one. We're going to make sure your sandwich of 3 is all lined up again. Now I'm coming around to this edge. Here's my tail. So I'm going to make sure my tail's sticking out there. Uh-oh. You know what I did, guys? Ha! You guys are going to laugh. I put this on backwards. Amber's probably sitting there screaming at me. Honey, you're doing it backwards. Okay, so I did it backwards. Don't do what I did. Don't do what I did. I just put it on backwards. How's that for a good live, guys? Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing really well. All right. So anyway, we're just going to pretend that I did that right. You know, in reality, if you do it wrong, though, it can be a design feature. So you can always have that on the outside and then do your cuffs the right way and you'd have a nice little pattern there. So don't do what I did there. Or you could do it this way and have, you know how sometimes I have the seams shown on the outside too. So anyway, it's supposed to look like this with your seams on the inside. Don't do what I did. Oh, guys, that's hilarious. That is so bad. I'm going to have to reshoot this and do it the right way. Oh, my goodness. So anyway, that's how you sew that on there. Amber, I'm so embarrassed. You did such a good job, and then I go and do that. Okay. So as you can see, those of us that even know what we're doing do it wrong. So anyways, inside out. We're going to do it the right way this time. Turn your cuff. We're going to put the cuffs in now. So you're lining up your side seams. Completely lining them up. So yeah, don't do what I did, guys. Do as I say, don't do as I do. We're going to go across. We're going to line that one up. So you're going to notice if this does not 100% line up, that's okay. If you're, for some reason, you got it just a touch longer on one side than the other, you can pull so that the short side matches up and then pull so the other side matches up. It's okay. You're not going to be that far off if you are off. And then a lot of times these little leg cuffs aren't going to need to stretch as much as the waistband did. So we just go ahead and do that. If you still want to put in your middle ones, you can do that, like I showed you to do on the waistband. So got those done. I'm going to do one more. Design feature, guys. Design feature. That's what it's all about. Now, and that was the one thing that they always taught us when I was in school is you make a decision and go with it, and then if it didn't turn out, you fix it later, you move forward. Well, I made the decision, I moved forward, so it's now a design feature. And it was meant to be that way, right? So we're just going to go ahead and make sure all these get pulled out. And I'm going to go and trim those because those can get in the way when you're sewing. And I've just learned, don't let things get hung up if you don't need to. So on this one, since it unraveled a little bit, I'm just going to take a little length off. It's going to go ahead and cut it off later. I just don't want to necessarily cut it way back right now, but I don't want the straggles to sit there just in case they get wrapped around something while you're sewing. Not that that ever happens to me ever. Trust me, I'm good at getting stuff like that happening. So, all right. So I know I did it right this time, guys. And if you really want to check, so you know you did it right, you can always turn it around. Okay. Yep. So I know it's the right way this time on those. Okay. But in reality, it's kind of cute to have that little tulip edge at the top. And that's what they call that. They call that a tulip edge. When it kind of does this little thing. I've done that before, Dawn. Yeah. Yeah, I have done that. Okay, so when you start and stop seams on any pants or anything, I always like to do it down here in the crotch area. It just creates a nicer line. You can do it wherever. That's just how I do it. I just have always thought, you know, you hide as much as the start and stop as you can. Yeah, it is kind of like a ruffled hem. That's why I was saying, Dawn, since I screwed it up, it's really not that big of a deal. I could fix it and leave it. I would weave this in. And what I could actually do if I really wanted to is I could take this over to my sewing machine and even stitch it down and sew it down so that it looks like it was meant to be that way. And nobody would ever know. So a lot of times your mistakes turn out to be new designs for you guys too. So don't be afraid of screwing up a little bit here and there. You'll learn some things and all of a sudden you might go, oh, hey, I want to do it that way more often because it looks really cool or something. You just never know. Yes, I could cut it off and reattach it. It would make it shorter, not a big deal, but sometimes it can be a big deal. So be very careful if you decide to do that. Make sure you know that pattern and that it isn't going to cause a shift on your garment in a bad way. So yeah, you could do that. It is, yeah. Yes, I weave them in after I sew them. So I'll take a big needle and just run them down, run them in through the top edge or the bottom edge, wherever they're closest to, and then just cut them off. I'll run it, you know, about that far. Oh my gosh, I'm not even on the camera. Sorry, guys. So I will run it in under the top stitches here. And if I can get it to focus, there we go. And then maybe run it about, you know, however long, that long, and then pull it out and cut it off. And then that way, when it washes, it'll stay. All right, so let's go ahead and sew these in. Now, when you're doing these cuffs, they're a little bit smaller. They're going to be a little bit fiddlier, so take your time. Take your time. It's going to be okay. Set it in there. You're going to go shorter spurts and always stretch it just a little bit so all your three layers are all together again. And go ahead and run. And I always stop and straighten everything out once I've flipped this over, because as you're going, you're going to have to turn it just a little bit. Flip it over. Take that out and then make sure all my threads are out here. And that's where you can start lining everything up, because sometimes it'll move just a touch. And don't be afraid of going through that big seam. Your serger is just going to cut through it like a hot knife in butter. Okay, there's one. And we'll just quickly do the other one. Again, I start down at the bottom. Happy little mistakes, yes. Mess ups equal rustic. I agree. My dad was a woodworker, Reddy. Yes, yes. And you can sew it. I was going to put it in like this. You can sew it that way instead of this way. I just find it's a little more fiddly. So I always like to go to the inside versus the outside. Now, if it's easier for you to do the outside, go for it. It doesn't really matter which side you do. So that's just my personal preference. Again, starting at that center seam, making sure everything lays nice. And if you have to, pull it off. Pull everything back up so it lines up real nice again. Flip it under there. And sometimes getting these little ones started are the hardest. Make sure you get it shoved way up against that knife. Always make sure you grab that bottom layer and keep it even. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a hole in your garment, and you can fix it. You can go back over and resew it. You can rip it out just a little bit and resew it. It's all good. And you'll see I was having a hard time getting it started here. And so I've got just a little catch. I can fix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip that thread right there. And I'm going to pretend like that part's not sewn. I'm going to put it up there. I'm going to reclip it. And then that way, when I get to that edge, I will just finish it off. And And then line all my sandwiches up. Stretch it out a little. And now I'm back here. So make sure everything lines up real good. And I check to see how much farther I've got to go. There. So it did not catch right here when I first started. So it was no big deal. That's what I had to stop and just repin, and then I went past it just a little bit and sewed off. So now we have a pair of Bummies, even though mine's got the funky little seam on the outside. You just kind of straighten them all out. And if this happens, that's no big deal. This ended up on the outside. It's all good. I can take and thread my needle and run that back to the back side and thread it down in and finish it off. So I will just run that in and run it along that edge there. No big deal. And then you can always tell where your front and your back is. Clean up my mess here. When you lay it down, your back, can you see it's a little bit wider right here, right across there? So if you do this, it's like there's the baby's butt, little diaper butt, where if you were to do it this way, you could tell it would be a little short. So it just seems a little broader there. And then when you hold it up, you can tell on the back. And this is only if you've lost where your back is. You can tell on the back that it's a little bit fuller on the back than it is on the front. So well, my camera's not focusing so well. So there's your Bummies, guys. And then I would take them and press them really nicely. You want to press your seams up away from the bottoms so that they lay nice and flat. And I'd take it over, those of you girls that have a heat press, I'd take it over and do the heat press. And just lay all your seams really nicely. If you have to take an iron just to get a pesky seam that doesn't want to lay flat, if you have to do that first, but don't spend a lot of time with your iron if you have a heat press, because the heat press finishes them so nicely. And then you can just take it over there, plop it in there, and give it a nice good 5 seconds or so. See how pretty that kind of is, even though I screwed it up? It kind of gives a little bit of a ruffle. That's a tulip edge. And you'll see a tulip edge either in a big or real tiny ones too. And you can do that with your serger. Those tulip edges are so pretty to do on cuffs and on the edges down here. So there's your Bummies, guys. See how easy those are? You think you guys can do that? I know you can. Bob Ross. Oh, that's hilarious. All right, so Adelaida, are you still here? So I'm going to show you the, I'll give you a little quick tour if you're still here. Did I lose you? I'll give you a quick, for those that have not seen the studio. Take the camera off and show you guys. I know, Dahlia, the soft pink, it's so pretty, and I don't know if I can get that anymore. I got that at Joann's, and you know how Joann's is right now, so I've got a couple of yards of it. So I got a little bit for a little while, but when it's gone, I don't know. Christy, yeah, they are cute. Those little Bummies are so cute. And you know, the coolest thing, guys, think about it. You got a t-shirt? Ready? I know you've got t-shirts. And if you're going to make a big one, this is what Nita needs to do for you. Get one of your t-shirts and you cut it so that the front design is on the butt. And then you make the front of it out of the back. And you take old t-shirts and make these into little Bummies as well. And you can either do the same color, you know, from the rest of the t-shirt here and here, or you can get a contrasting color or whatever. But, you know, be one way also. If daddy has a t-shirt that he wants his baby to have Bummies out of, you could easily do that. All right. So I'm going to move the camera, guys. I'm going to put my hand over it for a second so I don't make you guys sick. While I move this off, and then I'm going to give you a quick tour here of the shop. So those of you who have not seen my studio, I'll turn this off. There sits my two girls. So I've got the Brother Inovis right there, and that's a single needle. And then my real old one is my Janome right there. It's my 9500. They're both sewing and embroidery combos. I know if you guys don't sew a lot, I probably wouldn't recommend that. I sew a ton, and for me to have the sewing and embroidery combo, it's like none other, because now I have three sewing machines. Actually, the other one's upstairs. It's just a straight sewing machine. But I do have three. That way I can either have them threaded for 3 different projects, but invariably it never seems like I can do the same project on each one and do it to where I like it. So like say my Janome is really good at doing certain stitches. My brother is really good at doing stitches that my Janome doesn't do really good. And then I've got a Pfaff, a really old Pfaff in the house, and it does things that these two don't do really good. I do buttonholes on that Janome like no other. That thing is foolproof. I'm sure the brother is too. I haven't tried it yet. I haven't had that one very long. I got it right at the beginning of COVID, and I scored it on eBay, and I picked it up dirt cheap. So if you guys know anything about sewing machines, or even just a little bit, don't be afraid of buying from a sew and back vendor. They are the best. My uncle used to be a sew and back vendor, and they know the sewing machines inside and out. They're there to make sure those sewing machines are fixed right before they resell them, because they don't want them coming back. And they want to make sure that their customer is happy. They're not really there to sell like 40 of that one and 30 of that one to make their ends meet. They're there more to service the machines. They'll sell some new ones. They usually only sell used ones. And they're the best, hands down. So I got that Inovis, the Brother Inovis, from a sewing and vac place in Colorado, and I've had no problems with it. It was absolutely perfect when I got it, and I've been using it since March. So just a little plug for my sewing and vac people. So now we're going to go around here. Let me back up if I can. And that's the couch area and my little guy. I think that's Honey Bear, Amber, Honey Bear. And this is 14-foot ceilings in here. So I have ceiling fans up there, windows, all kinds of windows. And there's double doors that go outside to my stairs to go upstairs. And then this is when I was telling you, this is my crazy part over here where it's kind of a dyeing mess. So there's all of my fiber and my yarn that I dye. And then I've got my dye station. Trying to do this here. Right there. And I'm going to have to turn around, guys. So there's my dye station, which is kind of a mess right now because I'm in the middle of doing stuff. Little mini split to take care of all that. And then my big guy right there. Those of you that don't know much about knitting or the yarn community, that's a skeiner. So I buy yarn in the big cones like you would buy your thread on the cones. And then I make my single skeins on that skeiner, and I can do 12 of them at a time. So that was handmade by a guy for my friend for her shop, and she closed her shop. And so I inherited that for right now. Then I've got another set of double doors there, and my heat press, which is sitting on my ironing table for the moment. And then let's see if I can keep this straight. I've got a divider right here. So I've got, these are all IKEA shelves that you guys are seeing, and then I painted chalk paint on the edge here. I need to get some better chalk paint because it didn't hold very well. So that's going to be a chalkboard. And then back here is my industrial sewing machine. Let me move my computer. Take you guys back here. So there's my industrial sewing machine. I also work my day job down here. So you'll see my backpack there and my computer screen. I've got a big computer screen there. And then more fiber tools, which you guys can't probably see because they're covered up a little bit. And then my cutting table right here. And my cutting table is, I've told this several times, but it's just the 9 cubby shelving units, and they're made into an H with a really fat middle. So I've got 2 in the middle and then 1 on each side. And then 2 sheets of 4x6 sheathing, and I think they're 5/8 inch thick. And it does not bounce, and I do not have to attach it to the base at all. So it does move, and it's portable and easily moved if you need to move it. And I've moved this by myself. And I don't recommend it. I'd recommend having people help you, but you can do it. If you're determined, you can do it. So that's all I'm going to say. And so that's my studio, guys. It's I'm very blessed, and I'm very happy with it. I love it. So that size that I made on the Bummies was a 6 to 9 month, guys. Put you back up here so I can talk to you a little bit more. So that was a 6 to 9 month that I made. So if you're starting, again, like I said, if you're starting new, don't make a small size. Always start, 9, 12 month, maybe even a little bit bigger, because it will be fiddly your first time. And the smaller things are, the fiddlier they are. So you want to get them big enough to where you can manage them and actually be able to handle them and get somewhere. Then you can work your way down once you kind of figure out how to do it and everything gets a little easier for you. Got any questions here, guys? Hey, Cindy. Hey, Zoa. Dawn. Let's see, I missed your comment. Have to show you sometime. You'd love to see it work. Was that the skeiner that you were talking about? Because the skeiner's cool. That's fun. And it's nothing complicated. It just goes around and around and pulls stuff up. But, it's kind of mesmerizing. And it's kind of one of those things where you watch it and it just relaxes you, Thank you, Michelle. Okay. All right, Dawn. Yeah, I will show you guys. I will definitely show you guys when I have it set up. Maybe on my next live, I'll set it up real quick and then have it ready just to kind of walk you over there and show you and stuff. It's really cool. If you guys don't know anything about that side of like the fiber and the yarn business, it's amazing how a lot of the same skills, they cross over. And I will do a lot of the same things for a different type of business as well. And then you can also sew and do some things like project bags and things like that. But yes, the Bummies are fun though, guys. They really are. And once you get going, this takes, once you're used to doing them, again, my mistake, sorry. So embarrassed about that. It takes probably half an hour, 45 minutes really to make them. They're not that hard. They're real easy. But yeah, get really creative in your fabrics, guys. Knit is a knit. Now, like I was saying, the t-shirts, it's gonna be a lot thinner. You can do it though. And you just realize they're not gonna be quite as bulky, I guess. I don't know if bulky is quite the right word. I don't know what I'm looking for, but it's just gonna be a lot thinner. So Oh, Mary, yeah, it's a refurbished one. The refurbished machines are awesome. They really are. And I'm sure that's what they would call the one my brother over here was a refurbished machine. And that just means that they've gone through, they've looked at it. If anything needed to be fixed, they fixed it. And the refurbished machines usually come out of the, whoever you're buying them from, come out perfectly like a brand new one. They've just got a few miles on them or a few stitches or however you want to call it. Most of them will have a warranty as well. So you just need to check and see if the warranty is with the company or with the person you're buying it from. Ediani, did you make them? Did you get them made while I was doing this? 101 ready. Really? Oh my gosh. Thanks, guys. Sorry, I keep bending down, reading comments. I really got to get in and get my eyes this week. I've got an eye appointment. It's driving me crazy not to have my contacts in because I cannot see. Thanks, Anna. I'm glad you could join us. How's it going, Ediani? Are you lost anywhere? Making a shirt for it. Okay. Yes, show us. Show us later on when you get done. Did you get through all of them? Thanks so much, Piccolini. Thanks for joining. Oh, good, Ediani. I want to see. You need to send me a picture. Text me a picture. I'm sure you did absolutely fine. I'm sure you didn't do what I did. Design feature. Yeah, put it on Discord. Send a picture on Discord. Let everybody see under the sew along so that we can see. And if anybody else, when you make yours, go ahead and post them under the sew along on Discord, whether it be mine or Amber's or Gabby's. And don't forget, Gabby has her sew along now this Tuesday. So the sew alongs are going to work out that Gabby and I are on the same week. And then Amber is the week after. Yeah. Yes, hit that like button, everybody. If you haven't already done it, I'd really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe too, because we're going to have a lot more coming up. And then I'm going to be doing some things as well. I'm going to be posting some videos and some more lives, not just sew-alongs. So you're going to want to be around and make sure you catch all those, because I'm going to be doing little bits and bobs, some work with me's. I'm going to be showing, somebody wanted me to show them how to do the rolled hem on the ruffler and how to make a ruffle. So I'm going to do that. I told them I'd do that this weekend and I ran out of time. So I'm going to try and do that this next week. There's going to be just little short tutorials on how to do some things, whatever I think about at the moment. You know, if I'm doing something and I think you guys would really benefit from it, I might just quick do either a live or a quick video, and it might be short little blurbs, it might be longer ones. Don't know, kind of like however it rolls, because my day job is really unpredictable. So I can't set up a huge schedule. I'm going to try and be on every Sunday, but I can't promise. But Sundays are usually my best days out of the entire week for me to do anything. Yes, Ediani. Yeah, I want to see all of it. I'm sure it's going to be a cute little outfit. And is it for your son? And I'm facing the craziest, messiest part of my studio. What am I doing? I'm glad I'm going to hide it here. Ready? Did you get Nita to make you a pair? Did you convince her? I think you need to find a t-shirt. Sure, you've got a real good one. All right, guys. If we have any more questions, if not, and I'm not sure what Gabby's doing. Gabby, if you're still on, are you able to tell us? If not, she'll post on Discord for sure what she's doing on Tuesday night and the time. I'm going to try and stay at 6:30 on Sundays. That way it kind of hits. I know it's kind of over dinner for some people, but then the ones that are a little bit later, then it doesn't go too late into the evening for them. And some of these are going to be a little shorter. If it's a longer one, we'll know. I'll know before we do it. Yes, Nita needs a serger. She's got to be able to do bummies. She can't make you a bummy without a serger. I recommend the Juki. Should you have a serger and an overlock machine, Sierra? I would start with a serger. An overlock, I don't have an overlock. I had thought about getting a combo. They don't recommend getting combos. It throws your tension out for you and you have to constantly mess with it. So don't get a combo. If you decide later after you get a serger, you see the need for an overlock, then you can go buy just a straight overlock machine. I thought I was going to need one, kept using this and then realized I really don't need one. The little bit I'm going to need it, I can do it on a standard machine that has the right stitches. So you just butt them up together and then you just run it through the machine as long as you've got that right stitch figured out that you need and the spacing and everything. You get all that set up. And the little bit I'm going to need it, I can get through with that. Cover stitch machine. There's a place for them. Overlock and cover stitch are the same. So there is a place and a time for them. I don't need them. I have not found a need for them. Some people do. And that's just, you know, whatever your business takes you, wherever you want to go on whether you think you need one. But again, I would get a serger first, then decide if you need the cover stitch / overlock machine. How much are they? My Juki runs about $379 is what I think Ediani just paid for hers. And the brothers, I think, are about $299, something like that. I don't know the brother ready. So all I can speak for is the Juki, but the Juki goes through all kinds of thickness of fabrics. I've had it for 5 years, never had to have it fixed once. It's never broken on me, and I'm rough on my machines. So it's a workhorse, it's a beast, and I love it. You sit down and you just plow through everything, and it adjusts for you up and down if you're going through things. That's why I was telling you guys, when you go through these and you've got all these little seams together, it just plows right through it like hot knife and butter. It's kind of a rush, actually. Just go kind of like a guy with a tool, you know. Jukis are awesome. They are good machines. They are definitely the if you're going to go for an industrial machine, definitely look at the Jukis. I know when it comes to sewing machines, they are really, really good. The sergers are good. They make the Tahimas on the multi-needles. I haven't heard a lot, but it's a Juki. So I cannot imagine that it's bad. But I know everybody has all the other names. I think, you know, once you start getting into some of those commercial industrial embroidery machines, they may kind of all be made by the same manufacturer or somewhere in the same warehouses, possibly. Just saying. I know my industrial machine that I've got was specially made for a leather and tack house, which makes horse saddles and all the horse things. And so I was going to do only leather at the time that I bought it. And so I bought that one, but she said they had Conso, which is a real big name like Juki. Conso consulted with them and makes it just for them. So I've loved that one, but any of the Juki industrial machines would be really just as good too. Shar, did you come on? Did I miss you? There you are. Hey, Shar. Yeah, Karen, the overlock, yeah, you've got to have an absolute use for the overlock. That's why I always tell everybody, make sure before you buy one that you really have a true need for it. Otherwise, it could end up being a dust collector. Twin needle for a cover stitch. Yeah, you can do that as well. Absolutely. I do enough on my sewing machine. It has just enough stitches that if you buy a sewing machine that has a few decorative stitches, you're probably going to have something that would work as a cover stitch. So you would be able to do that. And some of the machines also come with the ability to do a twin needle. I've never really used the twin needle. It was one of those where it's like, yeah, I could see the need for it every now and then and wanted to use it, but I just didn't want to fuss with it and mess with it. So I never set it up. But it's set up similar to your serger, as in that you've got the two threads that come through and they tend to go through the same area and come down and then go through the two needles. So if you look at your serger, it's a twin needle. So your threading is going to be very much the same on a single needle if you're going to do a double needle. Oh, you're okay, Char. Don't worry about it. You can go rewatch. It's okay. It's hard to hit a time for everybody. It just is. You know, everybody's lives are crazy. So it's awesome that we can go back and rewatch. That's what I really love about it. Oh, Gabby, thanks. You still need to come someday, hang out with me a little bit. We'll have a little sew in or sneak away for, even a day or a weekend if you want. Yeah, Bob, I'd be more than happy to have you for the weekend. White is an old brand, yes, and they made good machines. Be careful, and I'm just going to say this because I grew up with machines. I grew up with my uncle being the sew and vac guy, and I know a lot about machines. When you go to look at some of these brands that you don't necessarily hear about as much, make sure you take the time to find out what the guts are. Make sure they're metal guts and not plastic guts. So that's kind of the disclaimer. I really want you guys to know that some of these machines, you kind of get what you pay for. So just remember that. On a sewing machine, if you don't pay, and I'm not talking you have to go spend a lot of money, but if you have the difference between one that's here and one that's here, find out why. Find out what that difference is, because this little gap in money could be all the difference in you being frustrated and you not being frustrated with your machine. So just do a little bit of your homework, whether it's the person that's selling it or whether you go do some research on the models, but get in and make sure that your guts are mainly metal. Now, you're probably going to have some that are plastic regardless of what they are anymore. That's just kind of the way the world is. But there are machines, and that's why the Juki industrials, they're so heavy. That's why all industrial machines are heavy, because they are all metal parts all the way through. I mean, my industrial machine, just the head alone, because you lift it up and there's oil underneath. So it pulls oil up from underneath. It's not a self-oiling. So you lift the head up. That head alone weighs 75 to 80 pounds. It is pure metal. And I can't even hardly pick it up myself. I have to have somebody help me. Besides, you got the guts of the machine underneath and there's nothing to hang on to. So you can't just go grab underneath and lift it, or you'll probably break something on your machine. Yeah, Don, those decorative stitches, we don't really use them like they think we're going to, but there are a handful in there that if you really look at them, you'll be like, oh, that looks like this stitch or that stitch. And you can even, if you really wanted to, you can fake it with a zigzag, and you can stick them together and run a zigzag across it as an imitation to a cover stitch. And then if you really wanted it to look like a true cover stitch, then you could run a straight stitch along at the points of those zigzags right there. And you'd probably want to set your zigzag a little bit closer so that it holds. So when you pick up the fabric, it doesn't gap. Good night, Karen. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Do we have any other questions? Juki 8700, those are nice. Yes, and now you know what I'm saying about how heavy they are. It's really heavy, isn't it? Just the head. And then here's the other thing I want to tell you guys too, while I'm thinking about it. When you go to oil your machine, never use anything but white sewing machine oil. And white is not the brand. It's white means clear. Do not use anything else. Make sure it is a sewing machine oil. Anything else is going to gum up your machine, gum up those parts, and you're going to have a huge repair bill. So you can get sewing machine oil at Joann's, at I would think Hobby Lobby. Any place that sells sewing machines should have sewing machine oil. And you can buy it online, anywhere. It's not expensive at all. And a little bit's going to last you a very long time if you're just dabbing it here and there. For industrial machines, I have to buy it in the bigger, I've got a big container about like that, and I'll use about half of it when I first put my machine together, because you've got the pan and you've got to fill the oil level. So it's probably about like that thick. And then you've got this, and it looks very much like a wick, or like your edge of your serger thread. And that's the tail that sits down into that oil pan and pulls the oil up into your industrial machine. And then you've got this little round domed clear piece that sits on top, and it looks like a little percolator. If you've ever seen coffee percolating in a percolator pot, that's what your oil is going to look like when you're sewing. And so that's how you kind of know everything's going good. You'll be sewing along, and then you just kind of look up and see, is that oil kind of percolating up? And if it isn't, then I always check my level to make sure that I've got enough, because it tells you in the pan. Yeah, very heavy. I missed that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. The white Serger off eBay for $125. That was a good price. Yeah. That was a really good price. And, you know, I'm all about getting the refurbished, you know, because I'm not going to tell you, I paid 1/4 the price for that one, 1/4 of what it was worth. And somebody, you can get good deals, guys. You know, and that's what we're here for on Discord too. If you're seeing something and you want to purchase it and you want a second opinion, just get on and ask. Those of us that kind of know something about it can go and look at it for you as well and give you, you know, hey, you know, I think that looks like a good deal, or check for this, check for that. At least, you know, we can kind of help you figure some of that out, so you're not out there trying to navigate the waters by yourself, and you just might pick yourself up a really good deal. I know a lot of people, since the COVID is still going, might be looking for a couple extra dollars, and they're dumping a machine that they're not necessarily using. And here's the ones that I'm seeing lately, guys. I'm seeing some of the PE 800s getting put out there for $600, $700, $800. So I'm sure they're not lasting very long, but I am seeing one every now and then. And then I did look on Craigslist just earlier. I'm always looking there too. Saw a PE 800. I think it was it Oklahoma City? They had one on there for 800. So you just keep your eyes out, guys. You can pick up some really good deals if you know what you're looking at. Mr. Fajita, are you leaving me ready? Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you, Ready. Thanks for joining. I'm glad you joined. I put Mason to sleep, though. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. Oh, that's funny. Not in Canada. Oh, Sandy, I'm sorry. I know you're having a hard time up there finding a machine. Canada's tough. It's just tough. I love my Janome. Those of you who have not looked at a Janome, I love my Janome. That thing embroiders oh so nice. Oh so nice. It's an MC 9500, which means Memory Craft 9500. It's an older machine, but you can still get them. You can't buy them necessarily real readily, but you can still find them. It does a 4x4 and a 5x7, and it's a gem. It's a gem. It sews beautifully just for sewing as well. I mean, I've put it through its paces. I've had that machine 17 years. somewhere around in there, early 2000s. And the only time it's been in the shop is when I messed it up. When I know I messed it up. I did something and I went, okay, it's going in the shop right now. That's my fault. And so other than that, clean them out, keep them good and clean and oiled, and you're good. You're good. Everything is really inflated. It is, Sandy. That's why you just got to really keep your eyes open and land the deals when you see them. Absolutely. And that's just it, guys. The other thing is, don't necessarily think you have to start with a PE 800. You can go up to a machine that's a step or two higher, get yourself the bigger hoops, and it might be the same price as what that PE 800 is right now. It might be like $1,000 where your PE 800 is going to be 800. You've already got the bigger hoop. So in all reality, you've upgraded yourself and you're not going to have to go buy a whole nother machine. So you've probably saved yourself a little bit of money. So some of the lower novices from Brother, I mean lower as in price lower, look at the size of the hoop. And if you can get yourself into something that's like a 9, I don't know, an 8x10, or I think I saw one that was, there was one step up above from a 5x7. It might have been an 8x10 or a 6x12 or something like that. And it wasn't but maybe $1,100. I was like, wow, that's a good deal. And then you guys are set. You're set. You're not going to need to go get another one until you either want a multi-needle or you need a second machine or whatever takes you wherever. Oh, yes, Sandy, watch from the beginning. If you have any questions, Sandy, I'm going to be around, so you can always message me on Discord. You prefer your Viking, yeah. And we have, Don, we do get into certain brands that we really fall in love with, and they mesh. It's kind of like a car. You know, some people love this brand, some people love that brand. There's nothing wrong with either one. You just mesh with it a little better. So yeah, and if your Genomi's just sitting there collecting dust, either gift it to somebody or sell it or something. Because if you really are in love with your Viking, you're probably really never going to go back to it. So yeah, bless somebody, maybe help them out or something, you know. Now's the time. Okay. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do on my next live, guys. I've got a couple of ideas. Are you wanting to move forward a little bit and try some things that are a little bit more of a task? And we can do that. I was thinking of doing a dress this next time, kind of like a little sundress. Let me grab this one and I'll show you. It's not, excuse me, it's not going to be this exact dress, but something similar to it. This one's just a little bit further than where I want to take you guys right now, but do something with maybe a tie, and then it would be just a regular swing dress like that. They call it a trapeze dress. And then if you wanted to do an embroidered design on it, you could do it, and you can do it even later. I do this before I sew everything together. So I cut the pieces out, then I'll put that on because it's easier, and then I sew everything together. So we could go this way. I've got a couple of other ideas as well. We could do some accessories. We could do a tote bag. I could show you how to make a big pillowcase. I don't know what you guys are looking for. Let's see. Just trying to read the comments here. Yes, Gabby's on her So Long As Tuesday. So she's going to get her supplies list out. I'm not real sure what you're doing, Gabby. I don't know if you told me. I think I wrote it down. I don't remember. Okay, looks like possibly we could do a baby cap. We could do that as well. I would probably do a baby cap with something else because the baby cap wouldn't take very long. So I would want to do a couple of things if we're going to do the baby cap. Scrub cap. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay, that's right. You did talk about that, Gabby. Gabby was thinking of doing a scrub cap. And those are awesome. You guys could easily do a scrub cap, and that kind of also would show you how to do a baby bonnet. So there's a little bit of a crossover there. They're going to be very similar. Yep, support the nurses. Yeah, because we don't necessarily have to always do kids' clothes. So we're looking for ideas as well, guys. So we want to make sure we're giving you the video content and the sew along content that you guys really want. So ideas, always go into the sew along thread on Little Alessia Co. and leave us ideas and go on Nita's channel and leave us ideas in, I believe she's got an Instagram area or a video area, one of those. We'll find it. So just it is probably kind of an obvious area, and leave ideas in there for so longs. We want to make sure you guys are getting what you want. Oh yes, the top on a baby cap can be tough. Yes, Dawn, I agree. I agree. Yeah, a lot of that is the cutting of the pattern. So we're going to go back to that again, where if your pattern is not cut correctly, or if the pattern itself kind of is a little, I don't want to say wonky, but it's creating something that doesn't necessarily look right when you're done, go look at the pattern and then open up your cap and look at the cap and see, did I sew something goofy, or did I sew it the way the pattern was? And if you sewed it the way the pattern was, then it's probably the pattern. If you sewed it a little funny at first, then try and resew it. And if that doesn't fix it, then go and look at the pattern and see if you don't need to adjust the pattern just a little bit. Sometimes things aren't necessarily what we call graded. So grading means the curve. They're not graded quite the way it needs to be. Or maybe the person that sewed it and made the pattern, it worked perfectly for them, but it's not for you, and that's okay. You can go and adjust things. So patterns, you're going to learn a little further down when we get through some of these beginning areas on how to merge some patterns together. And sometimes if something's not quite graded right, you can go look at another pattern and maybe adjust it according to the way that pattern works, because you know that one's good. So there's a whole lot of give and take on these things. They're very simple. Bonnets too, yes, Gabby. You can probably maybe show them while you're doing the scrub cap kind of how it maybe would be a crossover, certain areas maybe. Yeah, okay, so there, the 500E, 8 by 10 or 8 by 11. Yeah, I noticed that there was one that was not super expensive that had a really big hoop. And I didn't realize the hoop was that big, and I saw it and I was like, whoa, we need to start talking about this machine here too, because the price difference is not a lot. It's a lot less than outgrowing one and having to go buy another one. If you can buy one that has the bigger hoop to begin with, and you can afford to do that. So just throwing that thought out there, guys. You know, a lot of times we end up needing to anyway. I mean, I've got two for various reasons. I'm going to be using both. Or say you've got one that ends up having an issue and it needs to go in the shop. Well, you're not dead in the water. You have another one. So I had that happen to me when I was doing tote bags for Christmas gifts about a month ago, where I ended up having an issue with one of my machines. I fixed it. It was my brother. I fixed it. And I just didn't have time to sit and deal with it. I was trying to get this done because I was on a time crunch, and I had to have them done by a certain time so I could get them out the door with me. And I just walked over to my Janome and just rigged it up and kept right on going. And had I not done that, it probably would have cost me a whole lot of time. Not that the problem I had to fix was a big deal. I just had to spend the time to figure out how to pull apart that machine, because I had never pulled that machine apart before. And that's probably something too we can do a little video on at some point, is how to pull apart your machine and clean it. It's going to save you a ton of money. I know that Angela Jasmina talks about how she always maintains and cleans her own machines for various reasons. One's money. Two is you're minimum 2 weeks when you take them in, and she's not kidding. It's 2 weeks, because they are always busy. They're busy fixing machines. It's amazing how many machines these guys have. And so a lot of these fixes are super, super, super simple. And the one that happened on my brother was I'd gotten a little bit of a a knot. My thread had frayed, and it went all the way up inside the machine. Now, that's a bad thing, because when you get in there, then it can get wound around some things and really mess it up. Well, I try and really carefully pull it out, but I ended up, the thread broke. And so I had to real carefully try and get some tweezers in there and pull it out. Well, I'd moved something while I was doing that. And by the time I YouTube videoed it and figured it out, it was a real simple fix. I just had to get in and move one little tiny thing. But I had to figure out how to take it all completely apart and get to it. And I was like, I just don't have that kind of time right now. I've got to get this done because this has to walk out the door with me in a couple of hours. So I left it, came back later when I had time, opened it up, super easy, got in there, popped the one little thing it showed me, closed it up, ran perfect. Had I had to take that in, would have been $250. So it took me 5 minutes to fix it. Yeah, and sometimes, Dawn, yeah, try those patterns in various materials, because sometimes it's the material too. And sometimes it's that piece of material. I found that especially with knits. Sometimes those knits can really mess with you. So you just get a spare, a little piece, and just keep trying it. And you'll finally figure things like that out. And once you've done it a few times, then your brain instantly can start problem solving. No, that was a really good price for that, Samantha. Yes. You have to, Mary, watch eBay constantly, because when they come in and they are at a really good price, they're gone. And most of the time, I don't do the auction. If I'm going to do an eBay, I'm not one that's going to do the auction. I don't have time to deal with that. Those people are looking to get something really cheap, and it ends up not being a good deal usually at the end of the day. I look for the ones that, if they're an auction, they're also a buy it now price. And I look at what that buy it now price is, because that's usually the person's reserve. And if the buy it now price is a really good deal, I don't mess around. I pick it up and I go. And that way I know I've got it. I got the deal, and nobody's going to end up making me pay more than what that was, because if you do the auction, it's anybody's game. Yep. More if they find something absolutely done. That's why I think we need to kind of have a video on how to easily take care of some of this stuff. And then you only pay for the repairs that are really, really needed. You're not taking it in all the time just because you moved something just a little bit. That's where you bought your Janome. Yeah. Yeah. eBay is a nice little, it's a nice little outlet. I've gotten some really good deals on there. 6 weeks. Oh my gosh, Gabby. Oh, I'd cry if it was 6 weeks. My guy up here where I'm at in my small little town, he's amazing, absolutely amazing. And I asked him if he could work on my new brother, if he knew it, or whether I had to take it into the bigger town here to the authorized dealer. And I knew he could probably do it. It was more the computerization that had me curious if he was able to handle it. And he goes, no, he goes, I can do it. So, and I don't doubt him. I don't doubt him at all. Those guys love to tinker with that stuff. They keep up on top of it. And they love to see all the new machines that come in. I mean, they have a good time with that. I know my uncle did. He would always be like, oh, I got this really cool machine. And then he'd get the really old ones. In fact, I was on Craigslist today just looking, and my mom had a really old Pfaff. It was all metal, heavy, 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 heavy. And I loved that machine. It was probably from the 40s, I think. And my uncle had got it for her. And we put 3 motors on that thing because my mom burned up those motors. She was a speed demon on that thing. But I found the exact machine. I never thought I would again. And it's so hard for me not to go get it. I love that machine. And it was only $300. I was like, oh, I want that sewing machine. Yeah, I'm sure. Hey, Gabby, if you ever have that problem, let me know. We'll see if we can't find a place. We'll figure something out. Maybe even if I have to get it back this direction, because this guy up here is amazing. I know some of those old singers, if they're completely metal and they're heavy, I mean, don't put it on the floor and kick it accidentally. I've done that before and it really hurts. But those old ones that are just straight stitch, they are amazing. I love those things. They will sew through just about anything as well. Hey Zoa, yeah, we're done with the sewing. If you want to see the sewing, go and rewatch. But we're talking about buying where to buy machines and good deals and fixing and stuff. And we've been talking about finding them on eBay and how to fix them and things. So that's what we're talking about. Little black cams for the stitches. Trying to follow what you're talking about. Because my sister had an old Singer, and it was a portable. Man, you wouldn't have to go to the gym after slugging that thing around a few times. It was heavy, but I'm trying to think of what you're talking about. The cams for the stitches. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay, the replaceable cams. Yes, yes. That is an old machine. So what she's talking about, guys, is the machine itself has a place within it that is, say, you want to do a zigzag. So it'll have like this little round metal cam. So it's like I don't know, best way to describe it. It looks like a gear. And so it goes into a certain spot in the machine, and then that way the machine will sew that stitch. And it did, a zigzag. It didn't do anything major. I think there might have been a buttonhole. I'm not sure what else. Now I was talking about, yeah. There was an era before they started building them in when we were doing the straight stitches from the heavy duty metal machines. Then they went into the ones that had the cams that you switch out to get the different stitches. And then they went to the ones where they're built in now. Different sizes, yes, yes. That is a big deal. And I love, my brother goes up to an 8x12. I mean, that's the size that the multi needles are doing. And I've got an 8x8, an 8x12, a 5x7. I think it only came with 3. I think it was missing one of the hoops. Not that I would use one that's smaller, because the 5x7 will fit for that. And if I need it smaller, I can float it, or I can use my Janome. My Janome's got the 4x4. Yes, those are the best. The old Singers are really actually the best ones to learn on, Gabby. They are solid. Oh, whoa, metal flakes ground in the lifter module. Ooh, something definitely was hitting something then, if that's the case, and grinding on it. Yeah, probably were 5. I can't remember what all of them were, but now I know what you're talking about, because they come in a little box and they sit there. They're lined up like little soldiers. They have their little sleeves that they sit in. And yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. In fact, they're kind of greasy, because you got to keep them a little bit oily to use them so that they move like they're supposed to. Ken's Sewing Machine World. I have seen him. Yes. And there is a lot of these guys that sell, and they don't do the auction. They sell for the price, and they are solid. That is where they will sell their used machines, is on eBay, because they can't sell them in the location that they're at. So that's why I'm saying sometimes on eBay you can get some good deals, because these guys take these in as a trade-in, and they know that they can sell them on eBay and at least make what they got out of it as a trade-in. And so they come out even, and they're good. So, and they make a good solid way for them to move them around, and people can get what they need, and they're able to help their customer too. Another good one, an older one to look for is a Kenmore. Those are solid. If you can get an old metal Kenmore and just a straight stitch, you know, I wouldn't get too fussy about stitches. You know, if you do a straight and a zigzag, you're good. If that's all you find, and even if you just find a straight stitch, you can always go buy a serger or figure it out if you just want to do a little dabbling in some sewing. Well, Natasha, yeah, they hold their value. Okay, so remember that you want to make sure that the machine, if you're looking at an embroidery machine, you've got to really know your pricing. You got to know your models. So it doesn't take much to research it, really. So if you're looking at a multi-needle, you can tell by the model number. And so if we were to look at the Brother 6 needle, they would start with like the 600 PE, I think was one of the really older ones. And then the number kept getting bigger. And I think it went to 605, maybe. I'm 650, 655, 670. And so you can go and research those so that you know kind of the age of it, and you already know what they sell for now. Now they're going to hold their value because they do. And if it's well taken care of, and you have a service record, and that's what I would ask for too from the people. If you're buying a used one and you're buying local or something or wherever, ask for if they kept a service logbook or a service record. I know my Janome and my FAF from the place I bought it from back home, they have a card that they stick in a slot on the back, and every time they service it, they initial it and they date it, and then they keep the log at the place. And so if I ever needed that service log and I wanted to resell it, I just call them and they can give me that service log. So you can tell if somebody's taking care of it, plus then you can talk to the technician as well. So it's kind of like buying a used car. You can find out about it. And if there is no log or no record following it, then you can be a little wary, or make sure you sew on it and make sure it's a good price. And what if you want to go get, you know, some things done to it, just like a used car, you know? So, but remember, they hold their value, and that's a good and a bad thing. It's a bad thing for those of us that are buying, but it's a good thing for those of us that need to sell one. So, and the one needles are going to do the same thing. Yeah, they're still going to hold their value. So yeah, sewing machines, anything like this, any kind of a tool per se is gonna definitely hold its value. All right, guys, I've held you for 2 hours, so I'm going to probably let you guys go because I know I've been talking and talking and talking, and this has been fun. I love chatting with you guys. Thanks for coming and sewing with me. And show your projects on Discord, on all the channels. Get on there, post your projects, post pictures of all of it. We want to see all of it, not just mine. I want to see the stuff you do with Amber. I want to see the stuff you do with Cabby. And we're going to keep planning forward, keep leaving us ideas, what you want us to do for future sew-alongs, because we want to do what you guys want to do. And there'll be some great ideas out there that we didn't think of, I'm sure. So, you know, anything. We can even get into some adult things if you want. We can do, you know, pretty much anything. It's all good. Thanks so much for coming, guys. And always make sure you go rewatch again if you want to sew along with me if you didn't this time. And you can just kind of do whatever you need to do, stop it, rewind it. You know how that works. So thanks, guys. Love you, and we'll see you soon.